There's a force in the world more dangerous than evil itself, one that Dietrich Bahnhoffer believed was behind much of the destruction during World War II. Unlike evil, this force can't be reasoned with, exposed, or fought directly. It spreads quietly, making people blind to truth and impervious to logic. This force is stupidity. But why did Bahnhoffer consider stupidity to be a greater threat than evil? Why did he not just see it as an intellectual failure, but as a moral and social crisis? In this video, I'll break down Bahnhoffer's insights to help you recognize the signs of stupidity in others, and perhaps even in yourself. Dietrich Bahnhoffer, born in 1906, was a German Lutheran pastor, theologian, anti-Nazi dissident, and resistance fighter. For years, he tried to change minds. He spoke out against growing hatred, blind obedience, and the way people ignored the cruelty happening around them. Bahnhoffer believed that if he could just make people see the truth, they would wake up and resist. But despite his efforts, the truth was ignored. No matter how clear the facts were, people refused to listen. One evening, after years of resisting the Nazi regime, Bahnhoffer returned home to find his father waiting with grim news. 2 men had come to take him away. Locked in a prison cell, Bahnhoffer had nothing but time to think. He had watched his country, a land once known for its poets and philosophers, descend into a mob of cowards and criminals. He saw friends, neighbors, and even intellectuals give up their morality. Not because they were evil, but because they had stopped thinking. That's when he realized the real enemy wasn't malice. It was stupidity. Why stupidity is more dangerous than evil? Evil, according to Bahnhoffer, can be confronted. It can be exposed, fought, and even defeated. Evil knows what it is, and even the worst of people deep down recognize that their actions are wrong. Evil carries within it the seed of its own destruction. It leaves behind guilt and unease that can be exploited and overturned. Stupidity, on the other hand, is immune to reason. It is blind to logic and deaf to truth. It doesn't engage in conversation. It refuses to see the facts. You can argue with a malicious person, but you cannot argue with a stupid one because they won't recognize facts. They dismiss them. They won't debate, they mock. And most dangerously, they are utterly convinced they are right. This is what makes stupidity more dangerous than malice. While malice can be countered, stupidity is impervious. As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." The unseen dangers of stupidity. The most terrifying aspect of stupidity is that it often operates unconsciously. People acting foolishly don't realize it. They cling to their views with such certainty that no argument, no evidence, no rational explanation can shake them. Instead of questioning their beliefs, they double down and become even more rigid. As Mark Twain wisely said, "Never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience." We've all encountered people who dismiss any attempt to engage with them, using phrases like "whatever" or "I don't care," to avoid facing the reality of their ignorance. It's frustrating, like dealing with a narcissist. They will never change. But the danger of stupidity extends beyond individual interactions. It spreads throughout society. It infiltrates groups, movements, and systems that demand obedience. The power of one depends on the stupidity of the many. This is why mass stupidity so often accompanies rising authoritarianism. People don't lose their intelligence. They surrender it. They give up their ability to think critically in exchange for belonging. They stop questioning and start repeating whatever they're told. And once a person has surrendered their mind, there's no limit to what they can be made to do. They will commit evil and never see it as evil. They will spread lies and call them truth. They will destroy lives, all while believing they are on the right side of history. That's why stupidity isn't just frustrating, it's dangerous. It's a weapon in the hands of those who know how to use it. Understanding stupidity. Stupidity doesn't question itself. It doesn't feel doubt or shame. It moves forward with absolute confidence and becomes an unstoppable force. Bahnhoffer saw this firsthand in Germany, a nation once known for its poets and philosophers, now descending into a nation of cowards and criminals. He saw educated, intelligent people surrender their ability to think and blindly follow the Nazi regime. Bahnhoffer argued that stupidity isn't an intellectual defect, but a moral one. A person can be brilliant in thought, but still act foolishly. On the other hand, someone can be intellectually slow, but profoundly wise, moral, and kind. Intelligence and wisdom aren't the same. Stupidity, as Bahnhoffer saw it, isn't a lack of intelligence. It's a failure of moral courage. And it's not something you're born with. It's something you choose to become. Stupidity as a socio-psychological problem. Stupidity is a mindset that arises when people surrender their responsibility to think. It's not an inherent trait, but a transformation, a condition that people allow themselves to fall into. This transformation is not just personal, it's social. Stupidity thrives in environments where independent thought is discouraged, where people follow orders and conform without questioning. Bahnhoffer observed how the Nazi regime turned ordinary people into unthinking followers. They weren't inherently evil, nor were they necessarily unintelligent, but they stopped questioning. They gave up their ability to discern truth from falsehood and became tools of a greater agenda. Bahnhoffer compared this transformation to a sociological law. Similarly, George Orwell's 1984 depicted a society where people were brainwashed to the point that they lost their ability to think critically. The regime didn't just control actions, they made people stupid so they couldn't think properly. Bahnhoffer made the same observation. When power rises, stupidity spreads. Under the influence of authority, whether political or ideological, many people willingly relinquish their independence. They accept slogans, propaganda, and oversimplified explanations without questioning. They stop seeing the world as it is. This is where stupidity becomes most dangerous. It's stubborn, yet passive. The stupid person doesn't think for themselves, yet they are fiercely convinced they are right. When confronted with facts, they don't reconsider, they resist. You're not dealing with a person anymore. You're dealing with slogans and catchphrases that have taken possession of them. That's why Bahnhoffer argued stupidity is harder to combat than evil. A stupid person will repeat lies even after they've been disproven. They'll cling to falsehoods because they are no longer thinking for themselves. How to avoid stupidity? If stupidity is not an intellectual defect, but a form of mental enslavement, how can we avoid it? How can we ensure we don't fall into the trap of blind conformity? Bahnhoffer warns that people become stupid when they stop questioning, analyzing, and thinking independently. The first step to avoiding stupidity is simple. Never stop thinking. Always ask questions. Challenge authority when necessary. Don't accept something as true just because it's widely believed. If an idea can't withstand scrutiny, then it's not worth believing. Stupidity is a social phenomenon that thrives in environments where people conform without thinking. Whenever you find yourself agreeing with a group simply because it's easier, stop and ask yourself, Am I thinking for myself, or am I just going along with the crowd? History has shown that when large groups stop questioning, disaster follows. Don't let the comfort of belonging override the necessity of truth. As Friedrich Nietzsche and Bahnhoffer both warned, anyone who seeks to become a true intellectual must reject blind conformity. Stupidity often arises from external influences like propaganda, misinformation, and emotional manipulation. Leaders who rely on stupidity use tactics designed to bypass critical thinking and control minds. Stay vigilant. Never surrender your ability to think for yourself.